What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 38 of the Yard Podcast. I'm your host, Randy.
And I'm your host, Conan.
And we are 1 week closer to spring training. We actually have some updates for you guys on that, as well as what teams and fans should expect for this upcoming season. There's way more this week planned to talk about than I actually thought there would be. So I guess we should jump right into this. It's always kind of difficult to start a podcast with this kind of news because we're excited to record and talk Dodgers baseball, but you're not really ever prepared to kind of talk about this kind of stuff. On Friday, the Dodgers announced that Tommy Lasorda had passed away. He passed away late Thursday night from heart failure. As we all know, he was an icon in Los Angeles, as well as really the entire baseball world everywhere across the entire globe. Led the Dodgers to 2 World Series championships, 4 National League pennants, and 8 division championships. He was also a 2-time National League Manager of the Year. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame as a manager in 1997. He led Team USA to a gold medal victory in 2000 Olympics. So at the end of the day, Tommy really did it all. But the most important thing was he did get to see the Dodgers win the title one last time before he passed. We all knew how important that was to him and how much he talked about it. Team president Stan Kasten has acknowledged that the team will honor Tommy in many different ways this upcoming season through programming at the stadium as much as they can. Starting with opening day, of course. Whether or not fans will be there, we'll have to wait and see, but they do plan on doing some type of programming for Tommy. And he said plenty of other days after that. And he did mention the first thing that they were going to be looking at was getting patches put on the jersey, kind of like we saw for Don Newcomb that the Dodgers did. So yeah, everyone's kind of dealing with that. So we just want to give our deepest condolences to Lasorda family, all his friends, family, Dodger employees, because everyone knew him. We've been seeing an outpouring amount of support from everywhere across social media, the amount of articles that have come out all over the place. So just wanted to say that. Rest in peace, Tommy. We will all miss you. On to the more positive stuff. Want to give a big congratulations to Mookie Betts and Brianna on their engagement over the weekend. Mookie signed that big old contract and went and got his longtime girlfriend a nice big old ring. So congratulations to them. Super happy for them. Great news for the Muncies. Max and his wife Kelly announced that they are pregnant. Have to give another congratulations to them as well. The announcement was actually hilarious. I don't know if you saw it. They had a letter board and it basically just wrote out what else is there to do in the bubble coming 2021. Cause really, This was a World Series playoff baby. Cause really what else was there to do in the bubble? So we'll see if we get any more World Series babies announcements coming up in these next couple months. And it was cute because they had it laying next to a World Series champions onesie and then a picture of the ultrasound. So congratulations to them. Clayton Kershaw, and I know Matt Kemp isn't with the Dodgers, but we always think about Matt Kemp as a Dodger, and they were both out in Texas helping with the Players Alliance. They were in Oak Cliff helping hand out supplies to over 300 families with necessities related to COVID-19, produce, home groceries, and baseball equipment. The Players Alliance has actually done a fantastic job this offseason in helping within the communities. We've seen Mookie doing it. Other players from other teams are doing it. It's definitely not just Dodger players. Those are just the only ones we're talking about. There's players from every team doing this stuff. And you can actually read more about what Kershaw and Kemp are doing with the Players Alliance on DodgerYard.com. One of our contributors, Shark Ramirez, wrote about that, or you can find the link in our IG story. So check that out. Another thing we learned yesterday is that the Dodgers actually plan to turn their testing site at the stadium into a vaccination site now that vaccines have started showing up to distribute to people. So we will see how that goes. They're hoping to be able to vaccinate about 11,000 people every day. So glad to see the Dodgers are still willing to help out and do their part in all of this. We'll see how that transition goes, but it looks like it is starting sometime this week. And did you see the video today that David Price posts?
Yeah, you had sent it to me, and it was funny because my dad was talking about David Price this morning, saying, is he going to pitch? And I had told him, I don't know. We'll probably learn the closer we get to spring training. And then you sent me that video, so I sent it right to him. It says, looks like he's getting ready for the season.
Yeah, that was a really weird transition to go into Price pitching, but I got really excited when I saw it. And so when I realized we got to talk about it, I got excited because there has been a lot of questions from fans constantly asking, is he going to pitch? what's going on. And Roberts had made that comment a couple of weeks back that I hadn't talked to Price, and I think a lot of people took it as like, oh, does that mean Price not playing? And I really think Roberts just meant he hasn't talked to David Price yet.
Price did send out that tweet saying that all signs were
that's right
to him pointing to play when he's responding to somebody.
That's true. He did say that. The caption in the video from today said never felt better. I know you couldn't really see much, but did you see anything there that you felt like was encouraging or that made you think like he's kind of stayed ready to go?
Not really. It was just nice to see him throwing. So I figured he would have kept throwing despite not playing. I mean, he looks pretty good. So he looked good last spring training too. So I'm excited to see what he can bring.
Yeah. Pitch looked like it had a little whip coming out of his hand. A couple of people pointed that out, but I think at this point, just seeing him throw a ball, we're all going to be like, oh God, he looks so good. Cause I think we're all just kind of excited to finally see him pitching and see that we might get to see him this year. So
I think the key to his success is drive line and pine tar.
Hey,
that's a joke. Yeah.
I think it's going to be, MLB, with everything going on and all these cheating scandals, MLB, there's two things. You either legalize it and just like allow players to do it and you monitor it and make sure it's not done over the top, or you just need to come out and say this is illegal and actually start punishing players for it.
If you can't see
they're all doing it,
then let it go. But if it's like Luis Severino where it's clear as day on his body, then you probably should point it out. Yeah.
They need to figure something out. It needs to monitor. If you're not seeing like shiny stuff down guys' arms, or it looks like they're sweating profusely out the back of some dirt out the back of their neck, like I think it's time to just let this argument go, because really most pitchers are doing it. So hey, David Price, do what you got to do. On the topic of pitchers, the Dodgers did make a signing, one that we had talked about a little bit. We're both kind of hoping would happen, didn't care if it didn't, but we're both on board if it did. So the Dodgers announced on Tuesday that they re-signed Blake Treinen. He's back on a 2-year deal worth $17.5 million and has a club option for a third year at $8 million. Good addition to the bullpen. He isn't expected to be the last arm, though, that they try to sign. We will get into that in a minute. They are still looking at a lot of other guys. I don't know if you saw what he said, but he said as soon as the Dodgers started talking terms to him about coming back, he was interested immediately. He had so many great things to say about the organization after the playoffs were over. So he's very happy to be back here. Those are the guys that I want on our team, are the ones who want to be here and are very excited to be here. I know you're a Treinen fan. Are you excited about this? Happy with the move?
Yeah. So it happened after we had recorded our last podcast, which is why it felt so long ago for me, because I didn't know it was Tuesday. But he was pivotal in like some of the Dodgers' success this year, and obviously the Dodgers are looking for a better version of him in 2020. And I still think that there are things that the Dodgers can untap with him. So Treinen's never been a big strikeout pitcher except for 2018 with the A's, where he had his best season. He's a heavy ground ball pitcher. He's reliant on his sinker. He started out the season pretty strong with his sinker. His only issue was the walks, but he really didn't give up any runs at all. One thing I did notice, and it seems to be a theme with this team, is he was much better with Austin Barnes than with Will Smith. His ERA with Will Smith was in the mid-5s, and his ERA with Austin Barnes was in the mid-2s. The batting average, the on-base percentage, the slugging, the OPS were all much better with Barnes. So I think what the Dodgers need to do is to get the best out of Blake Treinen, Austin Barnes needs to be his catcher. If Will Smith starts and Treinen comes in the 7th or 8th inning, you need to make a defensive replacement switch.
We keep talking about this, about how pitchers do better with Barnes over Smith and making switches, and it just keeps making me wonder what's going to happen with Smith. Not that I don't think they're going to trade him. I think he'll be there. It just makes me wonder as if what the Dodgers are going to do with him defensively to figure this out. Clearly, Barnes is not going to last forever, and they want Smith to take that over. So they're going to have to figure something out, because that was actually the first thing that came to my mind was like, I remembered Treinen when you mentioned him having big moments last year. But then my mind went to, but he also got blown up in some moments that he probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering, I was actually going to ask you who was catching in those moments, because I was wondering if maybe there was some pitch calling and framing that could contribute to Treinen's higher numbers in 2020.
I would think so. He also had a little bit of bad luck. I mean, his ERA was 3.86, but his expected ERA was like in the low 3s, like 3.1. So he did have some bad luck, but at the same time, I mean, as we saw in the playoffs, Smith was calling sinkers high. Who throws high sinkers? That
Yeah,
really
I
makes no
think
sense.
that's what.
So I think for Treinen, it was a new team. He didn't want to step on anyone's toes. But if Smith's his catcher and Smith's calling stupid pitches, tell him to fuck off.
Yeah.
And throw it in a different zone.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these pitchers do that with their catchers. I think a lot of pitchers are very adamant about telling their pitchers, no, I'm not throwing that pitch. You'll see it sometimes happen on the mound. But yeah, like you mentioned with Blake Treinen only signing a 1-year deal, it was weird as hell in 2020. He only got to spend so much time around the catchers. He probably wasn't as comfortable. He probably felt I should trust my catcher, so I'm going to throw what Smith is calling. I'm actually trying to think back now as to who was catching. It was probably Smith, if we're just because he got more of the starts. But I was thinking back to Treinen the pitch he threw to Freeman that Betts robbed. That was, I think, higher in, if I remember.
Yeah, it was.
It was. So I don't know who was catching. I'm not going to put that on.
It was probably his cutter because he started throwing a lot more of that towards the end of the season.
Okay.
But yeah, he left it pretty much hanging. And well, thank God for Mookie Betts.
Yeah, who knows how that series would have turned out without that. But on the topic of relief pitchers, a big name came off the board yesterday, the biggest free agent pitcher and one we have talked about basically every single week. Liam Hendriks agreed to a 3-year deal worth $54 million with the White Sox. First thing I'm going to mention right now, and I know you'll agree, is the Dodgers were never going to pay him that. So that was never going to happen. On my notes today, the first thing we were going to talk about Liam Hendriks was that the Dodgers were automatically out because he wanted that 4th year. So 3-year, $54 million guaranteed, never going to get that from the Dodgers. His contract's a little bit different though, because he's not getting 3-year or $54 million for 3 years that he pitches. It's a little weird. He's guaranteed the $54 million. He has a 4th-year club option. If the team picks up the option, he will get that $15 million. If they do not pick up the club option, they owe him a $15 million buyout. So either way, Hendriks is getting that $54 million, whether or not he pitches for the White Sox in 2024, 2025, whatever year it'll be. So it's an interesting deal, and I think it's great for him. Good for the White Sox. Good for a small small market team, I would say, like the White Sox. They're not.
Chicago's pretty big.
But I'm thinking Cubs are where a lot of their market goes.
Yeah.
In comparison to the Cubs, I would say White Sox are probably a small market team. So it's great to see them spending money like this. It was great to see the Padres do it. It's great to see the White Sox do it. I would love more teams to do it because this is good for baseball. A lot of teams are now saying that the White Sox might be the team to beat in the AL. And the best part about the White Sox is they're young. So them kind of stacking up like this is they're just getting ready to do this for years. So it's going to be fun. More teams need to do it. Have some fun, spend that money. I'm glad the Dodgers weren't going to go that route because it's a lot for a closer, but hey, I'm happy Liam Hendriks got his money. But that kind of transitions us into something that you have discussed quite a bit on DodgerYard.com. You've written a couple articles. We've shared them a couple times. So with Hendriks out of our kind of view, he's on another team, no more worries about him. The focus moves to Brad Hand, and reports have also suggested Kirby Yates. So I know you've paid more attention to him. Do you want to kind of give us a breakdown on the two, and then we'll go over who we'd rather have?
Okay, so Kirby Yates, he missed most of last year because he needed surgery to remove bone chips from his elbow. In 2019, when he was healthy, he had 41 saves. He's always been a high strikeout, low walk rate kind of guy. In 2019, his ERA was 1.19. He doesn't throw the hardest. His fastball will see somewhere between 93, 94. But he locates well and has a late life on it. Now, his money pitch is a splitter, though, kind of like Tony Gonsolin. That's his go-to strikeout pitch, and obviously it's worked wonders for him, especially since he's gotten to San Diego in 2017. Issue is he's 33 years old, which is 3 years older than Brad Hand, and he's also coming off a big injury. But the Dodgers gave Treinen a 1-year, $10 million slot last year, despite the injury. So I think they can do the same thing with Kirby Yates as well.
Yeah, I'm actually very intrigued by Kirby Yates. I think they could get him, like you mentioned, for a decent price. Might give him a little higher AAV, just do it for 1 year, see what happens, see how he returns, because he was insane in 18 and 19 with the Padres, and then unfortunately had that injury. However, I don't think that's an injury that they have to worry too much about. So I'm all for it. I like it. I think it would be a very interesting pickup. There's a little bit of an argument I've seen on Twitter, though, is like, do the Dodgers need to add another righty to the pen, or do they try to add a lefty in Brad Hand? So is that maybe the better move to go, is to try and find a lefty and try to balance out with I'm not going to say Urias because I don't think he'll be in the bullpen. He could be, we don't know, but Gonzalez, Kolarek, I'm totally blanking right now. I know there's at least one more. Alexander, but would it be the right move to maybe look at a lefty, or do you think it maybe doesn't matter? I don't know. With the 3-batter minimum rule, I don't know if it really matters at this point. Guys need to face everyone. Not too many teams are throwing 3 straight lefties, so I don't know.
So, I mean, I guess it just depends on what you want, honestly. Do you want the better pitcher, or do you want one who will have probably the better contract but still be like decent to pretty good? Now, there has been a lot of talk about like Brad Hand's diminishing velocity, but as I detailed in my article about him, you can find that on Dodger Yard, his velocity crept back up to 92 by season's end. He's really never thrown above 94, so he's pretty much sat between 92 and 93 for years now. So it could have just been like it was a weird year because they had to start and stop. So that might have messed with his arm a little bit and been a reason for why his velocity didn't tick back up to the end of the year. I actually really like Kirby Yates and love reclamation projects, but besides Gonzalez, the Dodgers really don't have a reliable lefty in the pen. Plus, adding someone like Brad Hand would likely mean that Jansen is gone as the closer. Between Hand and Yates, they both haven't been closers for long. Hand's been a closer for 4 years now. Yates only became the full-time closer at the end of 2018 and all of 2019. Brad Hand has an 82% career save percentage. Sounds pretty low, but I was actually shocked because when I was doing this, I looked up to see what Mariano Rivera's was or Trevor Hoffman's was. And Mariano's at 89% and Trevor Hoffman was at 88%. Kenley Jansen's career save is actually at 88.6, which is just below Trevor Hoffman's. So yeah, I mean, despite the struggles of the last 3 years, he was pretty dominant before then. So it turns out closing's a lot harder than you think it is. Yeah. I thought like Mariano rarely blew saves and he'd be at the 94, 95% range, but 89 is the highest. So it's crazy to think about that, but honestly, could you really go wrong with either guy? I mean, they're both really good. I think I'm more intrigued by Hand though than Yates.
Yeah, I think Hand is a really good option. We saw him didn't get a contract from the Indians because they would have had to pay him $10 million. And I mean, the Indians just traded away Francisco Lindor and a pretty good pitcher along with him just because they don't want to pay Francisco Lindor. So them not picking up Brad Hand is not surprising to me at all. So I had a friend ask on Twitter, if the Dodgers were going to get Brad Hand, why not just grab him when he was put on waivers or non-tendered? When the Indians decided we're going to put him on waivers, we don't want him, and he cleared waivers. If I understand the rule correctly, I think it's because had the Dodgers picked him up, they would have had to agree to whatever terms that contract was on. So I think it was the 1 year, $10 million. Whereas now I believe they can work with any terms they want, whether that's sign him for 2 years, 18 million, 2 years, 22 million, something like that. 1 year, 8 million with incentives, whatever the case may be. So I think that's why the Dodgers did not grab him when they did, because if they get him now, they can work the terms how they want. I do not think that they did not grab him because it had anything to do with some type of injury or something going on. I purely think the Indians are cheap. That's why they let him go. And I think that the Dodgers, if they're going to pick someone up, they want to work on their own terms with that player, which is why instead they just decided, they probably knew he would clear waivers. So they just said, screw it, we'll wait and we'll go from there. So yeah, I like the Brad Hand option a lot as well. I'd really be fine with either. And I think if we grab one, we'll be good. Hell, grab them both for all I care. I don't care. I do think our third base and right-handed bat might be a little bit more important right now than focusing on bullpen arms, because they did get Treinen, they did get Knebel. Canely wants to be back in 2021. I don't know if that actually happens. If it does, it won't be till August or September anyways. But the Dodgers are getting people. Then they brought back Morrow on a minor league deal, so you never know what could happen.
Right. Jimmy Nelson might be able to fill a role as well.
Yeah, him too. Yeah, they've already signed a couple people that I've already blinked on. This offseason feels like it's moving slow, but if you think about it, we're already almost 2.5 months into this since the Dodgers won the World Series. So we're moving along, getting there. Dodgers still need that right-handed bat. Dodgers still need a third baseman. With that said, reports came out this last week that LeMahieu is frustrated with the Yankees because they are slow playing him. They don't want to give him what he's looking for, which sounds like the 5 years, 100 million, something along the lines of a 20 AAV over 5 years. So LeMahieu has apparently told his agent to reach out for teams who showed interest earlier in the free agency process, one of those being the Dodgers. Other teams involved, but they don't matter. We're just going to talk about the Dodgers. So I'm wondering, is this the time that the Dodgers jump in and make their move? We know that the Dodgers are, reports say that Turner is still the favorite. That's who the Dodgers want back. But we also know that there's still not an agreement that Turner wants 4, Dodgers want 2 years at the most. So they're kind of at a standstill. So do you think anything happens here with LeMahieu? Do you think maybe his agent is just playing the Yankees a bit, trying to get the Yankees to step up? Like, hey, we're going to sign with someone else if you don't get us what you want? Because it kind of sounds like LeMahieu really wants to go back there.
Yeah. I think this is just the agent trying to get the Yankees to budge on what LeMahieu wants, and he's using other teams to get that, to show, the other teams have interest, so Yankees need to make a move now before he goes somewhere else. And I saw something earlier saying that the Yankees are pushing him, not telling him to go sign somewhere else, but the longer it goes on, the more they're tempting him to go do it. Now I saw a report earlier saying that LeMahieu wanted to beat Josh Donaldson's contract, which was $492. I like LeMahieu, but I don't think he's been better than Josh Donaldson in his career. So, I mean, again, the value of the dollar goes up every year, but we were just in the middle of a pandemic. We still are in the middle of a pandemic. So I don't know if he's going to be able to reach that 492. I'm assuming the Yankees probably will end up giving it to him because that's what he wants. If I was the Dodgers, I just give him 424 a year. I don't know what that equals out to, 98 maybe. It's a lot, but sometimes you might have to overpay to get what you want. And again, he's elite at making contact and barreling the ball up in a hard hit rate. So his peripherals are good. Justin Turner would not be on my list of things I want to see happen at third base. It's no disrespect to JT. I just think it's time to move on and look for other avenues. And I think DJ could do that, because even if DJ plays third this year and then Hosey's ready, DJ can move to second. And then if luck still sucks, you can then trade him. It'll be at a low point, but you still might be able to get something of value for Lux. Or you can move him back to short if Seager's not around, or you can move him to left field. There's plenty of options to go around with LeMahieu being at third base. So I think it's something that they should really look into.
I don't remember who tweeted it. I want to say it was Mike Petriello. I just tried to look for it. I couldn't find it. So maybe it was in an article somewhere, but it was something I found interesting about LeMahieu. He played for the Rockies, and everyone talks about the Coors Field effect, hitting on the road versus home. And whoever it was that typed this out had said that maybe LeMahieu needs the Yankees more than the Yankees need LeMahieu.
It was Petriello. I just saw it this morning. Yes, Petriello, yeah.
So LeMahieu's OPS at Yankee Stadium is 1,100, 1050, something like that. Something extremely good, elite type status. And then on the road, it's right underneath 800. So Yankee is definitely known as a hitter's ballpark. They have that short.
That's not bad either. It's just not good.
No. It's not bad at all. He was just making a point that's for someone who played at Coors Field, it's interesting how nobody wants to talk about how big it's like a 294 difference or something like that.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting. I'm not worried about it. If he's hitting 800 on the road, he would probably still hit 850, 900 OPS at Dodger Stadium once he got comfortable there. So I'm not too concerned with that. It is interesting. You mentioned Turner letting them walk. I'm on the same page as you. Again, you put an article out on Dodger Yard about why the Dodgers should let Turner walk. And I think it is a good piece that people should look at, because I think there's a lot of, it has nothing to do with not liking Turner. It has to do with the baseball business side of things and talent and where it goes and what numbers say. So if you don't like the response about Turner moving on, we totally get it. But if you want to listen to a little bit more of the reasoning why, I'm saying you wrote this piece. I had nothing to do with it, but I'm on the same page with a lot of things as you. So I'm saying if you guys want to see how we feel, go check out his piece, because that's kind of the same page I'm on with all of that.
Yeah, this is no disrespect to Turner at all. He's been great. He seems like a great player a person off the field. It's just he's 36. Again, he's always injured, and his peripherals don't look good. He's declining in some big things. So it's a little concerning, is all.
Yeah. But since we are on the course of talking about keeping guys for a while when they're free agents, all of that stuff, you had asked a question. I think you said you found it on Reddit. You wanted to know.
I saw it on Reddit. I've seen it on Twitter. My dad asked about it because he said he saw it on Facebook. So it's making its rounds around.
Okay. So the question was, if you had to choose between Bellinger and Seager, if the Dodgers could only sign one, because let's be realistic here, there's probably no way they let Buehler walk. So it probably comes down to Bellinger or Seager. Could they do both? Yes. Realistically, I don't know if that actually happens. So if we're thinking like the Dodgers, Buehler's probably staying if the Dodgers have any say. Bellinger and Seager, if it comes down to one. So you know where I came into this. I came into this without a doubt in my mind, Seager. The longer I sat on it, the harder it became for me to stick Seager. I have my arguments, but I was kind of hoping you would go first so you could give me a little bit more of the breakdown, so then I could use those to sway my arguments and then go from there.
Okay, so I want to say, because I saw a lot of fans picking Seager overwhelmingly, and I completely get the recency bias. What Seager did in 2020 in the playoffs was absolutely insane. But the more research I did, the more the answer for me became crystal clear, and it wasn't remotely close. Like I think I told you when I first brought it up that I can go either way, but I would probably stick with Bellinger. But again, the more research I did, it became crystal clear that the answer for me isn't remotely close. It's Cody Bellinger. Now Seager is a great player when healthy, but therein lies the issue: is health. Now, how many games would he have missed this year if there wasn't a DH? A lot more than what the 8 or 10 he missed. Over their careers, Bellinger has a higher on-base percentage somehow, higher slugging, higher OPS, higher OPS plus. He's the better defender by a wide margin. He's faster, the better base runner. He's been the better overall player, and there's no debating that. That's just the fact. So, Seager had an incredible 2020. But an MLB writer had said why Bellinger is going to be not a breakout because he's already broken out, but why he's going to come back better. And what the MLB writer said was it was about best bounce back candidates. And what he said was Bellinger's quality of contact was a lot better than his results. He was better than most of the league in exit velocity, hard hit rate, and barrels, and better than majority of the league in expected batting average and slugging percentage. Bad luck. Bellinger was also MLB's best fielder in 2020 by outs above average at +8. He's faster than 90% of the league. Bellinger is 25 years old and still has all the tools. It's a good bet he'll be an all-around superstar again next season. So Cody was pretty unlucky last year. His expected batting average was 285, and I think he finished at 239. His slug is supposed to be 500. That's still all lower than what Seager did this year. There was no doubt 2020 was a bit of a struggle for Bellinger, but again, he's 25, and his strikeout rate is going down every year. His walk rate's going up. He did dip in barrels and hard hit rate, but like the writer said, it's still better than a lot of the league. If he can get back to what it was the previous years, I don't think he's too far off of being the MVP we saw in 2019. He's just been the better player.
Yeah. So when you mentioned recency bias, I think that's how I went into this. It was very hard for me to watch Seager. Seager's also been one of my more favorite players over the last few years. He's just fun to watch when he's healthy. He's very good. So that part was hard for me, the recency bias. I also had to take into effect that finding an elite shortstop is difficult. However, you do make up the points that is like, how good of a defensive shortstop is Corey Seager? Could they maybe move him over to third base? And then how valuable is he there? Is he not as valuable because third base is maybe a little bit easier to find someone who can hit like that? I'm not saying that is the case, but you can weigh it a little bit differently, whereas Bellinger is a 5-tool player. He can play Gold Glove defense at first base or in the outfield. I'm sure he could play left field if he wanted to. Seager's the better and more consistent.
He did his rookie year.
Did he? Oh, that's right. He did play a few there. He's the better and more consistent hitter, Seager is. But his health, like you mentioned, it's a big issue with his health. Is he's a better and more consistent hitter when he's healthy. How often do you get a healthy Seager? We don't really know because 2020 was weird, so we don't know how that would have played out over 162. Both are free agents at 28 years old. However, Bellinger's not 28 till he's 2024, so that therein lies a huge advantage already over Seager is age. So I went into this with Seager, didn't even hesitate, to now changing my mind, thinking that I think with the coming down of the World Series, actually having to look at things closer, realizing how special of a talent Bellinger is athletically, that is really hard for the Dodgers to replace. And with the Dodgers having interest and stuff, like, I don't know if you saw, apparently they were talking to the Mets about Lindor. Like, just the fact that they are even interested in other shortstops makes me wonder if they've had conversations with Seager and either Seager's not showing that much interest, or if the Dodgers have decided we bring him back on our terms, we are not going to his terms, and that they know with Boris is Seager's agent, that's probably not going to happen. So, I'm going to have to go with Bellinger. I love Seager. I would hate to see him play on another team. I think he's fantastic, but Bellinger just brings it all. 5-tool player, Gold Glove defense, and yeah.
Like you mentioned, Seager's the more consistent hitter. He's obviously a lot better at contact, but Bellinger brings the power. And like for me, what I look for in hitters, I look at the OPS because it tells you the on-base percentage plus their slugging, which I think is the most important. And again, Bellinger is winning that by a wide. His OPS over his career is over 900, and again, 900 is great. So Bellinger's just the better player. Also, I've heard some things that I'm not going to say any names, but this person told me that the Dodgers prefer Trevor Story to Corey Seager. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, that's interesting. But I could probably see it because of the defense. I think defense has hurt Seager a lot over his career. If you watch him, if you were to watch him as a baseball fan, you would think he's
mostly
not that.
The health related.
It is.
A lot of people are worried about Chris Bryant. I know some people that are worried about Corey Seager as well.
Okay. Yeah. So it is. Yeah. And it's, as a big dude playing shortstop like that, we saw his back give him some issues last season.
And it's not even that he's going to have like these long lingering injuries. It's going to be more of the Justin Turner types where it's going to be like a hamstring pull.
It's just going to be like an every year
be out type. For a little bit. Yeah.
So I think with that said, we both go Bellinger there. So we can now move on to the MLB news. I am going to try and go through this a little bit quicker just because we spent a lot on the Dodger news, as we should. If you have anything to say, feel free to stop me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of just go through. Manfred yesterday told teams, on Monday, so yesterday, whenever you listen to this, Manfred informed teams that they should plan to be ready to play 162 games this season, and that spring training will start on time. An article from Ken Rosenthal suggested, though, that owners are floating around an idea that would push the season back a month to allow more time for vaccines, but they would still play a full 162 games and play through October, with playoffs being held in November in neutral warm weather sites. So basically, you're looking at the same thing they did in the World Series. However, it would be warm weather, not because they're worried about the virus spreading, anything like that. It would be warm weather because they would have to play through November, and places on the East Coast and Midwest would not be able to handle playoffs come November. So I'm not a big fan of the warm weather site. I'll be honest, I was fine with sacrificing 30 games this year after coming off a 60-game season. 132 didn't sound bad at all. But if they want to push it back a month and give players a whole nother month to get ready to go, give us the best athletes possible that we can see out there, and give us a full 162, I'm all for it. They also released their fan plan for 2021. They announced that they will not require a COVID-19 negative test or proof that you received the vaccination to attend games in 2021. As long as each state's laws allow for it, MLB will have fans back this season. Masks will be required at all times in the stadium unless you are eating or drinking at your seat. Social distancing and lines will take place. There is some talk that stadiums could open up with about 25% capacity. Tickets will be sold in pods, just like the World Series. So to give you some idea, 25% capacity at Dodger Stadium, I'm not going to pretend to do the math. I don't do math, but it would still be a little bit more than what we saw. It'd be right around, I would say, right? Yeah, it'd be around what we saw at the World Series, 11, 12, 13,000 people, maybe something like that.
What does the stadium hold? 55, 56?
55, yeah, 55, 56. So yeah, maybe like 12, 13,000, something like that, that they will let in, sell the tickets in pods. However, something you do have to keep in mind is teams do have the right to impose stricter guidelines based on state and government laws. So if the Dodgers decided that they want to mandate proof of vaccination, they could. So we are going to have to wait and see. As of now, though, you can expect spring training to start on time, and you can expect a whole 162. I am going to say this, though. We spent how many damn weeks last year recording a podcast telling fans that they were going to get a full season with no BS, all of that. So take it with a grain of salt. Never trust a word Manfred says until we actually start season and see what players are doing, because that man lies about basically everything.
But the players have the say, right? Like,
yes,
he can't mandate that without them approving it, right?
They cannot delay the season without player approval. Okay. And the reason for that is players want 100% of pay. So I think that's why the owners are floating the idea around about just pushing back a season and playing through October, because then nobody has to sacrifice anything. And the owners can use that as a way. It gives us an extra month to get fans vaccinated and get them in the stands for that revenue. So yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, there's nothing, MLB cannot delay it without the MLBPA's permission. So that might be why they're looking into pushing it back.
There was talk last year about pushing it back too, right? But then I kept seeing reports about like TV stations or TV companies not wanting to do that, because obviously the further you push it back, the more it cuts into like football and things like that.
That's the biggest concern with this that Rosenthal did mention in his article, is that TV does not want to deal with that. Another big one last year why they didn't want to deal with it was because the second wave was supposed to come in like October, November. But yeah, the main one that Rosenthal talks about is TV stations, because then you run into football, like you said, Sunday nights, Monday night baseball, Monday night football, all of that kind of stuff. So it just really depends on what MLB wants to do, or if the owners are going to take that
MLB
cut.
needs to start looking at these streaming platforms like, I don't know, Hulu maybe, because Hulu has live sports. So they need to start looking at, because a lot of people are getting rid of cable to begin with and just going straight to streaming platforms. So I think they might, if MLB smart, they might want to do that.
There's a lot of things MLB could be doing. They could do the YouTube games again if they just got better broadcasters and did it better. I know people didn't mind that, except the broadcasting sucks. So. But hey, a lot of MLB broadcasting sucks. So
I didn't hear it.
Well, most of us.
I watched the games on YouTube, but that's true. But we have been blessed with Vince Scully and Joe Davis.
Yeah.
Oro does a great job as well.
So we'll have to see. Hopefully they can figure it out. I would love to have a full 162. I also do want the players to get their pay. Last year was incredibly hard for them. I don't care about the owners of the teams. However, one thing that really I found shocking, except for the fact that they take place in Arizona and Florida, is the fact that fans actually might be able to attend spring training games. You will not be allowed to openly move around the facility, wander around the facility. I don't think allowing fans to go to games in Arizona and Florida where the virus is literally just running rampant is a good idea, but I don't think baseball cares about what's a good idea and what's not. So, hey, if you want to go to a game, there's probably a very good chance you're going to be allowed to, because Arizona and Florida probably will allow it.
Just be careful, guys, please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say this nonchalantly like it doesn't matter, because it does, but we've been doing this for so long that I just don't think MLB cares. And at this point, like, really, we have to protect ourselves because those around us that are in charge are not doing it. So please just be safe. If you go out and do this, we need this pandemic to end so we can have 100% capacity at a baseball game. I'm dying for that day. But we'll keep you guys updated, because you never know what's going to go on in this crazy sport. They like to be public about everything when they shouldn't. So we will let you guys know when we know more. There was a giant trade that went on. One we all expected to happen, just didn't know where he would end up. But Francisco Lindor has finally been traded. The Indians traded him and Carlos Carrasco to the Mets on Thursday. Indians received a bunch of people none of us have really heard about besides Ahmed Rosario, and then some prospects. A lot of people are grading it as kind of a fair trade for both sides. It allows Indians to still stay competitive now. I don't know how you justify trading Francisco Lindor. I guess it's the same way I don't know how you justify trading Mookie Betts. I guess teams do it. I don't know. I don't care. It's not my team. I just think it's bad for baseball. I think it's great in the sense that this is going to make the NL a ton of fun. I think it's bad in the aspect that you're trading away a face of your franchise that brought you so much, and you're a small market team and you could have afforded to pay him, but you didn't. So that part is bad for baseball. With that in mind, though, I did want to know where you think this ranks the Mets in the NL.
Oh, in the NL 4.
4? Okay, that's where I had them. I went Dodgers, Braves, Padres, Mets.
I think that's probably how I have mine too. I mean, the Mets have a really good rotation. DeGrom, some people see him as the best pitcher in baseball, or he's 2 behind either Bieber or Cole. Those are probably arguably those are the 3 best pitchers in baseball. So you can put them in any order you want. So they got DeGrom, Syndergaard will be back, Stroman. Then now have Carrasco, and maybe Seth Lugo will finish out that rotation. They have really, really good starting rotation. I think the bullpen's pretty solid. Obviously, the lineup just got better. They are easily, obviously, a top 4 team in the NL. They could make things interesting for the Braves, just like the Padres could make things interesting for the Dodgers. I still think the Braves are a better team, just like I think the Dodgers are still a better team. But this is baseball. Like, this is sports. Anything could happen. So the Mets are not going to be pushed around. A Mets-Braves series and a Dodgers-Padres series in the playoffs would be super fun to watch on both sides.
I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I felt like in 2020, I felt like a weird kind of feeling with my fandom. Like everything felt weird. Baseball felt so small in comparison that everything was going on. Like there were parts of me that's like, oh my God, am I going through a phase that I'm like starting to not care? Is this like what's happening? Where's my fandom? And like everything that's been going on these last couple weeks, like I'm so fucking excited for this season. Like I can't wait. Like I can't stop reading articles that have nothing to do with the Dodgers just because I want to know what's going on. I can't stay off Twitter, even though there isn't shit going on January, whatever date this is, the 12th. But I am so excited for baseball season to start. And I think the National League is going to be insane because of what you just mentioned. The Dodgers and Padres in the NL West battling it out, and then the Braves and the Mets in the NL East battling out. The NL Central is a waste of space, so we don't really care what's going on over there right now. But the East and the West Coast are going to be putting up some battles in the NL, and it is going to be a blast. And as long as we get our full 160,
the Nats should be decent too if Strasburg comes back healthy.
Yeah, that should be fun too. So I can't wait. I think this is going to be great. Like I said, I think it's horrible for the side of the Indian small market type thing. On the other side, I think it's great for the National League. I think it's great for New York. I think it's awesome that the Mets are going to go out there and challenge the Yankees as being the bigger team in New York. Because Yankee fans are just, hey, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm telling you everything I'm reading.
I've seen it.
They're hoping to make Lindor the biggest player in New York. So
I've seen it. I've enjoyed their back and forth.
Hey, I could care less about the Yankees, their players, or their fans. So if the Mets can get under their skin, I'm all for it. I'm going to jump on that band, not as a fan, but I'm going to jump on that bandwagon, Mets over Yankees, just to piss off Yankees fans, because I think it's funny. And I would love to see the Mets come in and then all of a sudden just like be this team in New York when the Yankees are talked about every year and can't win a playoff series to save their life.
That first series between those two is going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be
especially
a lot of
if fans
fun.
are back.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm hoping we get a full 162 as well, because I want to see the interdivision matchups again. Like I want the Dodgers to go to New York and play the Mets. I want the Mets to come to LA, and then same thing with the Braves. I want to go there and I want them to come to us. So I want that full 162. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Mentioning the NL Central, the Cubs are still going all out on their fire sale. They're still reportedly listening to offers for catcher Wilson Contreras and third base / left fielder, if you want to call him, Chris Bryant. The other day I was on Twitter and I think I showed it to you. I was talking to Choice Fielder and I eventually went to Future Dodgers with a question because I just like to see what he had to say. And Choice Fielder and I were going back and forth talking about Bryant. I was telling him like, I don't care about Bryant's hard hit rate. He's hitting the ball. He's getting on base. He's hitting home runs. Not a big deal. He kept coming back at me with advanced stats as to what's going on with Bryant. His hard hit rate's down. His shoulder has become an issue, and that's why all of this is happening long term. We went back and forth. We did not agree, which is fine. I went to Future Dodgers, asked his thought, and I said, what do you think about Bryant? Would you make a trade for Ruiz or Cartaya straight up? He said, absolutely not. From what I've heard about people in the business, I'm worried about Bryant and what's going on. Kind of like what you had said about Seager and what you've heard.
Seager, yeah.
So again, these are fans on Twitter who, yes, absolutely have connections, because hey, we've all learned on Twitter, a lot of people do. When you spend that much time on the internet talking to people, you meet people. So I trust what Future Dodgers is saying.
My only thing is I don't doubt that there's some serious concerns about his shoulder or whatever the case may be. It might end up being like Matt Kemp's shoulder, because Matt Kemp was doing great, ran into the center field wall, hurt his shoulder, and was pretty dead ever since. So I can see the concern there. My thing is Chris Bryant's never been one that hits the ball extremely hard. It's pretty average. He's been that way his whole career, and he still has put up monster numbers despite that. So I get it. I think some people are coming a little hard on him. It's really unfortunate. And this could just be me just because I'm a fan of Chris Bryant, and I might have like some fan blinders on, but I think people are being a little hard on him. I think he can bounce back and be a really, really good player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I've told you, I think people are being a little hard. I do understand the concerns, though. It is always a big deal when it's someone's shoulder. So I totally get that. I will say I wouldn't be mad if they decide to trade for him. I would still be happy if we got him. I'd be interested to see what happens. And it's only because he's a 1-year rental. If this was longer than like maybe a year or two, I'd probably question it. If these numbers were still looking the same and his numbers were still trending down, it might be different. But for a 1-year rental, when the Dodgers have a place where they can deal from depth and it might fix a hole or be a placeholder until Cody Hosey's ready, then I'm interested in it. Again, though, if it doesn't happen,
I saw a lot of like writers and people say that they'd be surprised if the Cubs got anything of significance for Bryant. So my thinking is, okay, so something maybe is wrong, but this is a perfect time for the Dodgers to deal away some, I don't know, top 40 in their system prospect, top 30 person in the prospect for Chris Bryant, and move on. You get 1 year, see what happens. If he's bad, oh well, you didn't have to give up much for him. And if he's good, great. Can you resign him? Maybe, probably not, because it's going to be a lot of money. Well, I don't know. That's going to be interesting next offseason.
He could take a big 1-year deal. Yeah, take a 1-year flyer on him.
Yeah, right now he's at what, 118 next year?
I think so, yeah.
I think he could take another 1 year, 20, 25, just to see, like the Braves did with Josh Donaldson. I can absolutely see that with Chris Bryant.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. Still have to keep in mind, though, Dodgers are looking for a third base right hand. We've seen Suarez briefly, not really so much Bryant. They did mention like they've talked, but nothing more than that. So as always, as we hear more, you guys will hear more.
I do want to say I am extremely intrigued by Suarez. I mean, the swing and missing stuff is quite alarming, but he can hit.
The right-handed power is nice. I mean, it would be a nice
can
like right before Belly, after Turner, or sorry, after Seager, right before Belly, after Seager, before Mookie. So yeah, that would be interesting. Couple last things, some signings and trades and not signings. Over the last week, Kyle Schwarber signed a 1-year, $10 million contract with the Nationals. Jeff Passan was saying how that might bode well for Jock because Kyle and Schwarber are basically identical offensive players. So that might give you an idea of what Jock might be seeing. I would expect him to get more than just a 1-year deal, though. But actually, who knows? Horrible 2020, but fantastic in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. Japanese right-handed pitcher Tomoyuki Sugano will return to Japan after not coming to an agreement with an MLB team. He was looking for more money, but MLB teams weren't willing to give him what he was looking for. Keep in mind, he is a 31-year-old pitcher. He agreed to a 4-year deal, $40 million with the Yomiuri Giants, and will have an opt-out after every season. So he will be eligible to become a free agent again before the 2022 season and try to come back to MLB if he wants. Jeff Passan did say he was the second best pitcher on the free agent market, so he is now gone. Red Sox and Padres showed interest in him. Apparently he was not happy with the money, so he decided to go back to Japan.
Wait, Passan said he was the second best in Japanese market or overall market?
No, he just Passan called him the second best pitcher on the free agent market.
Behind Bauer?
My guess. That would be my guess. Yeah, Bauer's considered the best.
So there's really no pitchers available is what I'm hearing.
That's, I guess, yeah. I mean, Bauer's, I don't know if you saw, but apparently Bauer's crazy ass wants to break the record AAV, which is wild, but.
I mean, he's not going to do it, but I have no issue with him asking for it.
No, I don't have an issue with him asking for it either. Look, it's just, they've got to get their money.
But go out there and try to get it. Are you going to get more than 36? Fuck no. Should you try? Absolutely.
Yeah, no, he's kind of turned himself into a laughingstock on Twitter recently with the way he's handled reports coming out about him. He doesn't seem to like them. He doesn't seem to like media talking about him, but doesn't seem to understand this is what they do with every single player on the free agency market. So, yeah, who knows? We'll see. He's got to be signed soon because spring training is coming up, and pitchers want to get out there and know where they're going to be.
Pitchers and catchers report like in a month, right?
Yeah, and like
less than a month.
Less than a month, because like on the 14th or 13th, I think the whole team reports. So they're usually out there a week in advance, and I'm gonna assume that they're gonna stagger.
Let's get this going. Come on.
Yeah, they're probably gonna stagger it too with a COVID stagger how they bring in players. So they're gonna be out there soon. That much I will say. At least that's what Manfred's saying. I don't know anything. Robbie Grossman, outfielder, signed a 2-year, $10 million contract with the Tigers. Ryan Stanek, who I think we briefly discussed at one point, signed a 1-year, $1 million contract for with the Astros. And then Sam Coonrod, who played for the Giants. I think we all kind of remember him. He was the only one who didn't stand for the ribbon ceremony on opening day. And I think he said it was because he was a Christian man. So I have found that laughable since day one. So deuces, enjoy Philly. Giants got back
Blake
a right-handed
Treinen's
pitcher.
Christian as well.
Yeah. A lot of Dodgers are.
And I mean, it's all on his glove. He has Blake Treinen has something on his glove that says "for him," which means for God.
Do you know Clayton Kershaw?
Clayton Kershaw as well.
Like we've got him full. That was just a weird thing from Kershaw.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
It was almost.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not the same thing because this was kind of racist, so it's not the same thing. But it kind of felt like when not Arenado. I'm sorry. The third baseman from the Nationals went to the Angels. I can't remember his name.
Rendon.
Rendon, when he was talking about the Hollywood lot, whatever the hell that meant. It just felt like it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
No, you should have just said nothing at all and just at that point. I don't know. But anyways, Giants are getting back someone I've never heard of, right-handed pitcher Carson Ragsdale. So that is everything
going on. Good job, Giants.
That is everything going on in the Dodger world and the MLB world.
I did want to say that there were I saw a few Dodger fans that wanted Stanek as like a reclamation project. So I wonder if this was the only deal he really got, because if he had other offers, it's interesting that he chose the Astros.
Yeah.
After all that going on, if you
Hey.
had more offers and you chose the Astros, is it because they cheat
Spin
and they
rate.
do that?
They got that spin rate stuff over there. I would not be surprised.
Garrett Cole went from an average pitcher to a top pitcher in baseball. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, but now that all of that info's out and that Angels player's been busted,
and everybody does
not player, the employee, I'm wondering how much more. Who knows what's gonna go on? It'll be fun to watch though. Kind of hoping Bauer ends up on an AL team so we can see him go up against Cole, since he always called out Cole for that kind of stuff. I think it'd be funny. Plus, they were teammates back at UCLA. It's
interesting. They never liked each other, even at UCLA, because I guess Cole had called Bauer lazy or said you're never going to make it. Or so Bauer took it personally. And Bauer says he has no issue with Cole, but Cole clearly has an issue with Bauer.
Yeah, Bauer wants his contract. That's why he's got no issue with Cole. He wants whatever team's going to give him the most money. We'd all be saying that if we had a multi-million-dollar contract on the line. You need me to get away for something. You need me to get along with someone for $20 million a year.
Yankees.
Deal. Done.
I don't like you, but Yankees, I'm begging you to sign Bauer, please.
That would be
interesting. You know the shit show we would get.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun for everyone, but probably Yankees and like maybe Red Sox fans.
Probably,
so I think that'd be
Cole.
So much fun. Yeah, and Cole. I can't imagine that attitude going very well in the Yankees. So, but with that said, that's all I've got this week. Did you have anything else?
Nope, that was it.
Cool. So as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in, listening every week. It does mean a lot to us. We appreciate the ratings and reviews. If you haven't left one, please do so, especially on Apple Podcasts. I think that's actually the only place you can. So don't forget to leave us a rating and review. Check out our website, dodgyr.com. We're trying to get out articles for you guys as much as possible. If you ever want to write something yourself, just register, sign up for an account, and start posting. Share it on social media. Tag us at Dodger Yard, and we'll share that out with you. You can find us on social at Dodger Yard on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. I think that's everything. And you can find me at Randy_Radcliffe on Twitter and Instagram.
And you can find my Twitter and Instagram at Michael Konu, MyKalkonu.
And we will catch you guys next week and hope you have a good rest of your night, morning, afternoon, weekend, whenever it is you listen to this. And one more week closer to spring training, guys. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Bye, guys.
See you later, guys.